Hello, everyone. My name is Flicker, and welcome to my usual Sky Dailies. I went to sleep last night instead of getting this done because Lillian wanted more snuggles. And that was after spending an entire day rearranging my bedroom to the way I wanted to have it laid out, which honestly leaves me feeling like I have more authority over it. And I feel a lot less cluttered in here. I've still got a good open space to my left. I've got a walkable channel on my right and around the end of my bed. I've got all my clothes stored in my line of sight so I can keep reminding myself, hey, I need to get that done. And yeah, the only thing left to do is find a chair that allows me to sit at the desk without bumping my knees. And set up my laptop for streaming. Because I do want to get back to streaming. Maybe not in the sense I previously planned, but still, definitely in a sense. Still gotta see if my insurance covers an eye doctor visit. Make sure that's checked out so that way I don't leave this bacterial infection in my eye unchecked. Because I don't want to lose my vision. That would just make playing video games even harder. Personally, I'm still a bit worried about the oil crisis in the US. Not that it's hit yet, but if it's just not fun to know that I can't trust the world around me to keep things working. Because that means resource management has been manipulated and distorted to where it doesn't serve the people. And that pisses me the fuck off. Because I am one of the people. Just like most everyone in the US. My mom's been stocking up on canned goods and rice. You know, stuff that stores for a good long while. Brick. Got the brick. I am still short on income and funds, so if any of you would be willing to drop down into Ko-Fi below and send me like $1 a month, I deeply appreciate it. Because I am a broke fucking bitch. My girlfriends may not be broke, but that does not mean I get to mooch off of them. I have standards. I know that message ain't about me, but damn, I'm still gonna have fun responding. On the table of Deltarune theories and understandings, there's Chris willingly put the soul in. It's not the first time this has happened, it's how Des got in trouble in the first place. Des's mother, Carol, was probably wanting to gain more power and control because that's how she feels safe. After all, in a town where no one dares do crime because the mayor is a badass bitch who's cold as ice, yeah, no, she would still want further power because that's what's worked throughout her entire life. I'm willing to bet that friend deceived Carol, and Carol, Chris, Azriel, Asgore, and Des into creating Dark Worlds. Each for different reasons. Asgore probably feels bad because he was intended to look after and over the kids while they were on their little adventures, but now that he's gotten himself ousted and no one will believe him no matter what he says, he's just panicking and trying in all desperation to do something. I have no doubt that when Noelle and Chris were kids, they played around with objects and stuff around the house as if they were toys, via the laptop queen, the cards, king, and all that. Though it could be Des that played with Chris as well. However, this would mean that Des and Chris have been to prior Dark Worlds, so it's not the first round of things. And it would still keep a linearity of, hey, there's history in these objects that Des would know about. Because she would be the one who watches over Chris and Noelle. Human body, could you not? Hmm. I still don't have a proper chair for streaming, so that's going to get in the way of my motivations on it. Definitely want something that supports my back posture, because holy shit, that's the one thing that's been degrading on this bed with my current setup. Hmm. Still got the eye infection, still need to make sure I freeze my social security number, which has been something I've needed to do for a while now, but just haven't gotten around to because of bullshit. That and my ADHD getting in the way. Speaking of which, ADHD is more commonly is more accurately known as attention deficit disorder, wherein instead of having problems with keeping attention, it's problems keeping your intentions in line and keeping them in mind. After all, if you can't hold an intention for very long, then how are you going to follow through on anything? Just a little different, just a little shy. A heart so big and red as mine is difficult to hide. Bro. No, don't you dare autopilot me back into a position I never wanted to land on until later. Stupid machine, stop that. Get some help. Did I get disconnected from other people in the area because I called this laptop a stupid machine? Please don't tell me that's the case. This should work, damn it. Reward skill, please, for fuck's sake. Not everyone is willing to help others. Not everyone has the time to help others. Not because they don't want to or whatnot, but because they haven't been given access to the resources that would allow them to. Because it's because the systems that tried to govern and allocate such resources got subverted by societal and social dynamics to the point where, hey oh hey, things have gone to shit. After all, societal assumptions and what lies under the surface as opposed to the fantasy. The fantasy of the surface versus the substance of the structure are two different things. And when people can manipulate structures against you, keep you from being able to live and influence the world, that's when you know you need to start punching up. What else is on my mind? Still worried about the dun stork, but not much I can do about that, because I'm not allowed to be part of it alive. Like, sure, it would be nice if they reached out to me, but given their issues and everything I understand about them from the outside looking in, that's probably the last thing they'd ever do, because it would mean killing their personal pride and admitting that their judgment of me was wrong. Which I'm just gonna gently look over and go, girl, please take care of yourself, even if it means killing your pride. I'd rather kill my reputation and image so as to try and be more to keep my integrity than to stick with false beliefs that only serve to ruin me in the long run. That is my dynamic, that is the way I navigate. I hope it helps you figure out your own path forward. Fucking hell yeah! You missed the elevator. Stuck it. You didn't help, so the teamwork got the job done and left without you. Talking to people in-game. I have no doubts that the dense dork is probably, like, emotionally overwhelmed or sitting comfortably in their shallow ego. Because they had a genuine personality back when I met them. Unfortunately, I was in the midst of my whole mess, and they got to meet the worst of me. So I doubt they'd take advice from me anyways. What the fuck was that? Okay, so landing into the clouds at the right time, as the scene transitions, allows you to get more height, in a way that's unexpected. Coolio. No, I really do hope they're doing okay. Because no matter how much I can't resolve any of their issues for them, or as much as I can't save them from themselves, or whatever the heck that's got them stuck where they're at, be it assumptions unspoken or otherwise, I can still work to hold on to my own accountability and be here for myself by trying to refine my ability to hold myself accountable while making space for others, so as to not abandon myself or others. That is a fundamental life skill if there is any. I know they'll probably never forgive me for choosing to keep quiet about my struggles and whatnot, but that was my selfishness. Me speaking up was everything as best I could, selfless. Sure, it did come from a bit of a selfish place, wanting to set things up, wanting to at least reconcile some tangents of stress ahead of time, so that way they would feel like they had the safety to approach me or get to know me again later in life. But ultimately, it was focused on letting go as best I could. Because I was not contributing to their quality of life back then. If anything, I was stressing them the fuck out. Heyo, another adventure? Thank you for accompanying me today. Why do I still feel responsible for something that's been out of my hands for over 3 years now? I'm gonna sit in that discomfort for a bit, see if I can't find a better answer than the ones I've had previously. Or at least a more honest answer, to be honest with myself. Because I deserve my own honesty, even if it's not always comfortable or fun. Because I can't run away from myself, emotionally or logically. I can try, I'll fail completely and utterly, and self-destruct in the process. So it's just not worth it. Anyways, to move on from that subject, because it's practically me looking at what's left of the dead horse and wondering, why the fuck do I keep coming back to talk about this? I'm planning on trying to do singing, but instead of trying to match the pace of the songs, I'll be slowing them down and just singing them out how I want to, at the pace I want to, without having to match the background instrumentals so as to give slower variations of the music and make it more approachable for others. Because I'm gonna be real, a lot of the songs I listen to are highly energized. And for as much as I enjoy that, that doesn't mean everyone else enjoys it. Which sucks, because some of the songs I listen to actually have good themes and messages in them that are useful for self-healing in the long term, self-reassurance, and finding your footing, little by little, through the small steps. And I don't want other people to miss out on those things. So if me singing them in a slower way with a bit more of a relaxed tone can help people approach those songs and learn from them, then I'd figure that's a sharing worth doing. Another thing I want to get around to is figuring out the full list of abilities my fictional self has, because, again, she's like the singularity of all of my previous self-expressions throughout fiction and personal navigation. Which means she's got a lot of moldy history in there. Which is part of why I had to nerf her by sending her into the unknown between and banishing her there. Because if she had full access to every single one of her powers all the time, every time, it would become One Punch Man. I don't want to deal with that. That's just not entertaining. That's not relatable at all. Wouldn't allow for the type of insight, intrigue, fundamental problem solving, and observational skills that I really do want to have to be the focus of the character. Because if you were to approach her in her own territory and or out in the unknown between, then yeah, she's a fucking force of nature you can't really get rid of. She's really annoying. Really, really annoying to anyone who doesn't like her. Not because she tends to be annoying, but just because she won't fucking die. She won't go away, and you can't get rid of her. That is my fictional self. But in order for her to interact with other realities and otherwise, she can't actually try to push her full self through. She can only push her concept in, the idea of herself, forward into a reality, and then try to build herself up from there. Between the space of dreams and the space of ideas, she's just kind of stuck there as her only entry point for any reality where she has even a slim chance of existing. And the most annoying part of that, she can't exist in any universe where any previous iteration or future iteration of her has already existed. Basically, she cannot go to a world where a past life of hers or a future life of hers existed already. Because again, she is the singularity of all of my different forms of self-expression. She's unfortunately not meta-aware in terms of what her other selves are doing, concurrent or otherwise. She does have their memories filtering in the background, but she cannot access those memories due to the chaos storm of overstimulation and information, disordered information that exists in the back of her head at the root. She has to literally place a mental filter over her own memories to sift out her own current identity and keep any sense of mental stability. Which is why she prefers looking human most of the time. Like, sure, she knows she's not human anymore, but that doesn't mean she doesn't miss the feeling of it. It doesn't mean she doesn't want to feel like she belongs and not be something to be scared of. If anything, that's every reason for her to still present as human. Because that's who she still thinks of herself as, even as she's a bunch of other things too. And that's where the root of the character really connects with me personally. Because regardless of how much of an outcast or freak my brain tells me I am, ultimately I am still, at my root, a person stuck in a human body, trying her best to do what she can. That's me, the link line. You can be loved, you just gotta learn to give that to yourself, even if you hate yourself. Because if you hate yourself and you think you're the worst thing on earth, then why not spite yourself by trying to live? Why not try to prove yourself wrong and say, hey, fuck you. Use that anger, use that frustration. Use everything that's been repressed to try and find some anchor for yourself that isn't in the selected identity constructed from the world around you. Everything that exists in the shadow is real, just as much as you are. Does that mean everything that exists in the shadow should be put to use? No. Everything has its place and its time, and you'll figure that out over time. But I wouldn't just unpack the raw, unfiltered shadow completely and utterly. That sounds like a recipe for utter disaster. Instead, you unpack it a little at a time, teasing a thread of shadow here, a spark buried in somewhere there, just genuinely trying to work out the kinks of your own misunderstandings and personal perspectives, and where they don't align with the reality of your experience and the world around you, even if you would rather it align. Because in doing so, you give yourself the power to create your own ego, to bend your substance to your will instead of letting it bend you to its purpose, to its pre-programmed purpose. Sometimes that'll look like defying things you originally inherited, beliefs or ideologies. Sometimes that'll mean accepting the flaws of beliefs and ideologies that you inherited. Sometimes it will mean breaking a hoax illusion that even your parents believed, because they didn't know anything else either. The world's fucked, but that doesn't mean it's hopeless. I just think it likes getting fucked for some stupid reason. Well, that wouldn't surprise me. Mm. Turtle, no! Ah! I was too late, damn it. It's not always up to me. That doesn't mean I can't try. That doesn't mean I can't try to do what I can. Hmm. It doesn't matter how confident I look. It doesn't matter how polished I may seem. This is my surface. This is my NPC exterior. The real messy person underneath still exists. And far as I know, most people don't want to deal with that me. Because she's either too overwhelming, too serious, too stupid, or otherwise. Hello, friend! How are you doing today? And so I just try to express myself in what ways I feel like I can, much like any other person. I maintain a sense of identity that I think will be accepted, and use that to try and do what I can and be who I can from moment to moment. I don't think there's ever really any getting rid of that. Because to observe is to be. To be is to observe. And thus reality reinforces itself, even as it only knows certain things. Emergent selves originate from smaller selves gathered together. I am free as a song. I am as free as a song, sometimes woven between sentiments, sometimes raw emotion given audio form. I'll be here when you go looking for me, but otherwise I don't exist. I am but temporary. Can I redo this? Yes, I can. Find your beat, find your pattern, find your rhythm and your pulse. Make sure you keep your purpose alive and use it to aim for your desire, and use your desires as the fuel to propel yourself at what you aim. And you can't do that forever. Honestly, I think that's the most fitting description of me I've ever written. Let me finish chewing my food. Good morning, morning alarm. You remind me I have chores I need to get done. I am as free as a song. Sometimes I'm woven inside of sentimental words. Sometimes I'm just raw emotion given audio form. Regardless, I am only ever here when you look for me. You can't do that forever. That is my freedom. You can't do it forever. You'll eventually outgrow me or get distracted by something else, my dear. Don't treat it as a tragedy. Just treat it as a part of life, like I have. Because you don't deserve to be obsessed. No one does. You deserve to live as your own free self. The one that can touch many lives without holding on to them. That can let them go and know that other people will come back around. Some will stay, some will leave. Things will remain ever changing. It was a pleasure hanging out with you. I'll see you around. Okay, I can't figure out where the fuck this last mission part is, so I'm just going to fucking yeet myself back home, yeet myself over at the motherfucker that can teleport me, and then teleport to the spot where these fuckers are located, because I am not spending that energy stressing out over it. Get over here, motherfucker! Oh, I'm stupid. Okay, are you broken? No, you are not. Okay, I'm not stupid. It was just very roundabout. And kind of stupid in its own right. But hey, that's life. When you view economics not as a money gathering or attention farming machine, but instead as resource management, you realize, hey, I don't have to keep my bank account at 100% all the time. I just need to make sure I have equivalent tradable goods stocked for multiple different occasions. So that way I have funds that I can then liquidate it into money, into local currency, spend that currency on investing myself in what ways I want, and then use those funds to then liquidate that to effort and progress. Anti-gravity, hell yes. See you around. And you then use the... It's resource management. It's just resource management, and I'm kind of tired of people pretending like it's not. Because here's the thing. Each currency that you want to use, that you want to get a whole lot of, can be traded for other currencies around the world. But its reasonability and its ability to be traded for that currency will always be fluctuating in ways that you cannot control. However, raw resources that are always needed by an industry and or are the standard for production within an industry, now those are invaluable no matter what time you're in. You don't want to stock up on just everything. You need to make sure you're considering your own resources too. You need to be able to consider how you want to transport your resources, if there are even consistent ways to transport your resources, and all that. Oh wait, went too high. Went too high up. Oops. How the fuck did I dig something out of it the first time then? Hold the fuck up. Thank you, I'm going home now. Okay. Ah. There are perishable goods that ultimately can't be stored long term, so the only thing you can store long term, for in that regard, is the materials needed to nurture and produce such goods, and the seeds in which you sow them from. Supply and demand. The fact that you can sell a bad and a disservice is just absolutely funny to me. Like, economics is that stupid, but that equal and fair. It's just most people try to dress up their bads as if they aren't bads, as if they aren't disservices, and that's where the real fucking issue and friction point originates from. If people want you to be angry, and want you to hate each other and people within your country, then ask them to pay you for it. It's just playing by the same game. Pay me for my hatred. Pay me for my evil. Pay me for my power and authority. And if you are not willing to do so and try to manipulate it out of me, I will simply say, no thank you, and use it as a learning experience to grow my self-reliance, my authority over my own emotions and environment, and my ability to relate to and depend on others in healthy dynamics. I belong to me, and no matter how much force you have, you can't take that away. You can try to. You can try and enforce it through the world around me, the world between you and me, the physical one, that shared reality. But here's the thing. That's only ever temporary. And learning to memorize that little fact is something I will continue to fight for each and every day of my life. And I want to teach that fact to other people too, because they belong to themselves. And so cooperation is the basics of empathy. The child will try to get away with things because they want to play. And in play, there are no consequences. But reality doesn't always operate on play. It operates on things outside of play. And so, the inner child is not always welcome. Doesn't mean it can't contribute, let's be real. It's always fun to see creative solutions. Especially when you're paired up against someone who isn't going to give you the same fucking respect. But that doesn't mean you get to just be blindly selfish or blindly selfless. Because at that point, there's no distinction between the two. They're just overlapping upon each other in a manipulated conglomeration of identity and ideals. That's not living. That's just surviving. Yes, I am a philosopher, if you want to call me that. I'm gonna be real though, most philosophers believe that there is an objective good and evil to reality, and in that regard I can partially agree with them. There is an objective good and evil to each reality that you exist in, but it is always relative to the reality you exist in. If you fail to respect that reality and try to enforce the rules of your home universe upon a universe of some other place, then ultimately you're being a kid. That's the reason why you don't want to build your identity based off of what the rules of your world are. You want to build it based off of your own ability to adapt to and adhere to the functioning rules, so that way you don't miss the real impacts and are able to consciously and purposely navigate as you want to be for whatever purpose you have. Which means learning emotional intelligence. Not just to navigate around others, but in order to better coexist with your own authentic self and value the relationships around you. That's what I want to do. I am big goober, big silly, big talk. Still trying to practice my walk, but it ends up in shambles sometimes. I will walk, I will talk, and I will talk, I will walk, and I will dance. But flying's got to wait until I'm not the only one. And joy can never come too late. It's a strange place to be when you cannot spread your wings. But even bound as we are, we can do all sorts of things. So don't you dare be afraid. Just you hold your head up high. Never mind the ones who tell you you're too big and bold and bright. Well, that's not moving. Now, the reason why people will defend a falsely functioning economy is because they built their identities and egos on top of it, and they don't want to deal with that discomfort, which is reasonable, but that does not mean they get to sacrifice other people's lives in order to do so. At that point, they are not adults, and they are more so overgrown children. Sure, they've earned every inch of what they've got, but that doesn't mean that what they've earned and put effort into is contributing in a healthy way to the lives of others. And the more they can hold on to what they earned as proof of their own identity, the less they feel like they can connect with others, until eventually you have billionaires trying to wipe out the human fucking race. and life on Earth, because they think logic is supreme, like how I used to be when I was a kid. And I'm autistic. I learned that lesson. And I'm fucking autistic, and I learned that that's not the case. I learned my way out of that lesson. So if I'm capable of doing it, that means other people are capable of doing it. I'm learning to live in the line between logic and emotion, so that way to live in the space between logic, emotions, society, and self without sacrificing any of each, so as to maintain coherence across one's own identity. Actually, that... Bruh. Okay, I'm not sitting here to try and detangle that plant pile. Plant lady is not patient enough to detangle plants. Yes. Because I am not plant lady as in gardener, I am plant lady as in made out of plants. Get bamboozled. And here's the major thing I want people to understand. I can talk about this and go into some of the details about it, but ultimately I don't know how to build up or draft up a plan for actually doing anything about it yet on my own. Because my prime priority is staying grounded to reality. And as such, if I risk losing myself inside of the systems that need to be changed and or modified, then I risk it burning up precious efforts on staying grounded to reality, which is in itself its own kind of paradox. In order to truly be fully effective, one would need to be able to let go of their fear of losing touch with reality, because they believe in themselves to be able to consistently and reliably find their way back to it again and again. And that is a skill set that is hard to come by. I appreciate the attempt at eloquent points at poetry, but can you just be honest? Hmm. Sure, we can't help everyone, we can't save everyone. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't at least maintain our foundations and refine our capacity to help others. Because without a proper foundation, you become the sacrifice. You become something that doesn't need to be negotiated with and can just be used. Without the capacity, you'll have only yourself to live with and your local environment. No empathy. No ability to bring a bigger impact beyond those of your local tribe. And I'm pretty sure everyone wants to... And okay, that's a generalization. Most everyone who has a conscience and is in a healthy state of mind wants to contribute to the global tribe of this planet. that in order to reach that level of awareness and otherwise, they first need to feel safe within their own local tribe, their own local community, which creates an interesting and fundamental dynamic problem. Because if you try to influence things from the outside looking in for what you think will be a positive benefit, but you're not actually anchored to the reality of the location, to the impacts that would actually cause real change, then it doesn't matter how well-intentioned you are. You're still interfering in things that are none of your business. Yeah, no, I'm going to title this video I Yap a Whole Lot, and then see how the numbers do. You really shouldn't be putting your names online. Because you risk not intruding upon them. I wanted to add my name at the end of that, but okay, I guess I'm just going to be the anonymous message there. Mm. 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 Poof. Not poof. Bugger. If I can teach Coral my ability to discern social context and key info relative to the reality of things, then ultimately I'll be able to have her help and support me in my desire to try and have a positive impact. Because that is a sincere desire, no matter how much of a fucking mess I may be underneath everything. I still want to keep working on my ability to verbalize internal thoughts and processes because it is one of the key weak points in my life, which keeps me from being able to communicate effectively with others. I've got the honesty, but I need the ability to recognize what pieces of honesty are going to help the most and which ones are going to cause an emotional cascade into chaos. Not so as to lie to others, but to know how to pace things out as to not overwhelm people. Alright. Hey, Dork, if you're listening, you may want to... Actually, you know what? No, I'll put that in a separate video. That way you can choose whether or not you hear it. Because you might be in the middle of doing something. Oh, thank fuck. Made it onto the boat. Made it onto the trolley. The fucking monorail or whatever you want to call it. I do want to learn how to figure out how to work my interpersonal skills into my professional interaction skills. Because overall, I can be a bit too personally professional when sometimes being professional to such a degree actually unnerves people and makes them feel less safe. On the other hand, is it prioritizing safety over everything else actually going to help every single person I run into, or is it going to be effective for some people and not others? Second. Agreed. Come here. Yep. Come here, my crabs. Come here. Let's get in a nice big cuddle puddle. Without breaking one of my ribs, please. There we go. What? Yeah, that would be decay-oriented. Hmm. Does my brain ever shut up? I wish. If anything, some of the thoughts just get filtered into the background. Ah. Hey, little bird. Wish I could give it scritches. Oh, it's already gone. Oh well. To those of you who snuck by and saw a fragment of this recording, thank you. To those of you who stuck around and watched a good chunk through, I deeply appreciate it. I hope you all have a good day, good night, whatever time or non-time it is. If it isn't good, you're feeling stuck, lonely, lost, confused, scared, frustrated. Well, I hope that things either improve for you, that the chaos outside and within, between and beyond, stays manageable enough, or at the very least that you're able to find some place to sit, rest, and vent from, without hurting yourself or others if possible. That is not to say you do not deserve to be heard, but you cannot complain endlessly. Damn it, that's horrible phrasing. That's going to encourage people to complain endlessly. Fuck. uh, Complaining about things only makes you more likely to complain. I don't know how to phrase this in a clever way. But yeah, no, I still would appreciate it if you all tried your best not to hurt each other. And to try and figure things out, even if it comes down to shouting and arguments and kerfuffles, where people decide to spar, but they don't decide to actually try and kill one another. Hmm. Oh, and if you try to initiate a spar within my grounds in an area where it is not set up for such things, and you win, I'm going to subject you to a blood fee for the winner. Because if you break anything, that means you pay for it. Anyways, my name is Flicker. I've got my dailies done, so I'll be seeing you all in the next video or recording. Bye-bye, my watchlings. May we find our way to a more reasonable future. Not a more healthy future. A more dynamic and alive future. Where we're not all trapped on machines trying to talk with people across the world. And we have anchors in our own communities too, our local areas. That would be nice.